Welcome to Lesson 3.1b, Informal Commands in Spanish. So, just like formal commands, informal commands have a certain audience that they are being portrayed to. Now, informal commands only have one audience, and that one audience is only because we do not teach the plural version. A plural version does exist for informal commands, but in terms of what you'll be learning today, informal commands only have one audience. These commands are directed at two. In other words, a command directed at a person that you're familiar with, someone younger than you, where respect is not necessarily an issue to incorporate into the verb conjugation. Now again, these commands are just directed at one person that you are familiar with, even though a plural version exists. We just aren't learning the vosotros version. We're focusing in on two. So now, we're directing it at one person, but we still have an affirmative and a negative command to give. We can tell one person, do this or don't do this. And unlike formal commands, two commands or informal commands have different conjugation forms for the negative and the affirmative conjugations. Take the verb hablar. Hablar, to tell someone to speak, would be habla. But when you tell them not to speak, no hables. The endings are different and the conjugation steps to get there are different. So that makes two commands or informal commands a little bit more challenging. So let's focus in on the affirmative commands only when we're telling someone to do something and we're telling one person to do something. To do these commands, we start in the present tense and we use the LAF form. So normal present tense, he, she endings. For an AR verb, we're going to end it in a. And for an ER-IR verb, we're going to end it in e. So let's look at hablar, comer, and escribir. Habla, come, escribe. Simple enough. It's just like the he, she. We just don't put any subject in front of it. Speak, eat, write. Now there are irregulars specific to the affirmative conjugations, and we'll talk about those on the next slide. But just like formal commands, we're going to deal with reflexive pronouns. And what do we do with these reflexive pronouns? Well, because this is an informal command, the pronoun we're going to use is te. And because the command is affirmative, or a positive command, we're going to attach the te to the end of the command itself. And then we need to add an accent mark to the vowel prior to the infinitive. We'll look at some examples in a couple of slides to show you how that's going to work. But now for the irregulars. These are the irregulars only for the affirmative command. Poner, salir, ser, tener, decir, hacer, ir, and venir. These are very short command forms. They have no endings to add to them, but the command form itself is pon, sal, se, ten, di, as, ve, ven. No additional endings need to be put on there. That is the irregular form of the affirmative command for those verbs. Now remember, it's only for the affirmative command. These verbs are different in the negative version. Okay, let's look at some examples. Comprar los comestibles. Comprar is to buy. Compra los comestibles. Ayudar a tu papá. Ayudar is a normal AR verb. Ayuda a tu papá. Barrer el piso. Sweep the floor. A normal ER verb. Barre el piso. Compartir los juguetes. Share your toys. Compartir is a normal IR verb. Comparte los juguetes. Now we're going to look at some reflexives. Levantarse, acostarse. Well, we know the se has to become a te because we're dealing with an informal command. And because it's an affirmative command, we're going to attach it to the end. So then I look at levantar. It's an AR verb and I get levanta. I attach a te, levántate. but I need to accent the vowel before my infinitive, so the vowel that comes in front of my AR ending. So the first A, levántate. Acostarse functions the same way. Se becomes te and attaches to the end. But acostar is a stem changer, and stem changers happen in the he-she form. So acuesta is the correct he-she conjugation in the present. I add the te, acuéstate, and I add an accent on the vowel prior to the AR, which in this case is part of the stem change, the E, acuéstate. Tener cuidado, be careful. Tener is an irregular. So tener just becomes ten cuidado. Ponerse. Ponerse is not an irregular, but it's a reflexive. So we have two things to look at. Se becomes te. Poner has to go into its irregular form, pon. Ponte. Now, whenever I attach a te to the end, I need to look to accent. So I have to take the vowel before the infinitive. Well, it's P-O-N. The part of the vowel that's in the infinitive is the O, and there is no vowel in front. So therefore, there's no vowel to accent, and ponte is the correct conjugation. So if you look at the little graphic here, you can see with acuéstate, we had our A ending, and we counted one vowel back, and the E got accented. But with ponte, the O was part of the infinitive ending. We counted back one vowel, but there was none to be had, so no accent mark happened. Okay, now we're going to have to shift gears completely, because affirmative commands have their own set of conjugations and negative have their own set of conjugations. Two different ways to look at the same type of command form, an affirmative way and a negative way. Now we're in the negative form. The negative form will actually seem more familiar to you because we start off by putting the verb into the present tense yo form. We drop the O and we flip-flop the endings. So now AR verbs end in ES, ER-IR verbs end in AS. So let's look at hablar, comer, and escribir. No hables, no comas, no escribas. Notice the endings have completely flip-flopped. This also means that we're going to have to watch out for irregulars such as dishes, the same irregulars we had to deal with in formal commands. Dar, ir, ser, haber, estar, and saber. And we'll go over those on the next slide. Because these are negative commands, the same rules apply with regards to reflexive pronouns. Because it's informal, the pronoun will be te, but because it's a negative command, the te will go in front of the command. And we'll see some examples momentarily. Let's first talk irregulars. Irregulars form the acronym DISHES. Dar, ir, ser, haber, estar, and saber. Now these irregulars are irregular only because that yo form doesn't exist with a simple O to drop. Doi, voi, soy, their yo form does not render itself to the three simple steps we just saw. So these verbs just have a straight up irregular form. For dar, no des. Ir, no vayas. Ser, no seas. Haber, no hayas. Estar, no estés. And saber, no sepas. So dishes or dar, ir, ser, haber, estar, and saber, they only apply to negative commands. Remember, affirmative has its own set of irregulars, and negative has dishes. Let's look at some examples. No hablar en clase. Hablar goes to hablo, drops the O, hables. No hables en clase. No comer comida basura. Comer goes to como, drops the O, no comas comida basura. Decir is a yogo verb, so that yo form, we catch it, digo. Then we drop the O and flip the endings, so no decir malas palabras becomes no digas malas palabras. No perder. Well, perder is a stem changer, and stem changers are caught in that yo form. Pierdo. We drop the o. No pierdas. Number 5. No ir. Ir would go to voy. That should tell us something right off the bat. Ir is an irregular. It's part of dishes. So we go straight to the irregular form, no vayas. Now 6 and 7 have the reflexive component. Remember, the se becomes te, and then we can deal with the verbs in our 3-step process. Acostarse becomes no te, and then acostar, acuesto, drop the o, acuestes. No te acuestes tarde. Quitarse, the se becomes te and bumps to the front, and quitar can run through the 3 steps. Quito, drop the o, quites. No te quites los zapatos. Let's see what you've learned today. See you in class.